Debut of 12 on Your Side Plus. Thank you for streaming with us on Roku and other platforms. I'm Riley Wyant. We begin with today's top stories in the Riley Rundown. The government shutdown hours from hitting the 1-week mark. It comes as we await another vote on short-term spending bills in the Senate. However, don't expect any votes from their colleagues in the House. Speaker Mike Johnson canceled votes saying the chamber did its job after passing a funding bill last month. A Richmond grand jury indicts Tavares Floyd on 4 counts of election fraud. Floyd is accused of submitting false campaign finance reports when he ran for city council last year. The Times-Dispatch reports one person listed as a campaign donor has been dead since 1984. Floyd has previously denied all allegations of wrongdoing. Democrat Jay Jones facing calls to drop out of the race for Attorney General. This after threatening text messages he sent were brought to light. Now his Republican opponent, Jason Miyares, is rolling out a new ad campaign focusing on those messages. But will Jay Jones drop out, and can he even do that? We go behind the headline later on in the stream. Well, let's get a check on your first alert forecast, a live look from the Care Scout Care Cam. It's quiet and a bit warm for fall today, but a cool down is on the way along with our next shot at rain. Meteorologist Megan Wise is here, and she is timing out all of our things that we can expect this week. Many changes coming, Meg.
Hi, Riley. We are watching a rain that is likely for Wednesday. This is not going to be an all-day rain, but I would plan to have your rain gear during the morning, and that will taper as we go throughout the afternoon. Can't even rule out a couple of thunderstorms. And then all eyes on the weekend forecast. We're always watching that closely. A coastal area of low pressure is likely to form late week. Where that ends up forming and where that ends up tracking will give us a better idea of our chance for rain and how long that could linger into our area. So we'll continue to give you the first alert to that as we get closer to the weekend. Right now, though, quiet conditions and mainly clear sky. We were at 81 earlier this afternoon, but the humidity stayed low. So just a very warm afternoon for October standards. We're currently in the mid-70s from Tappahannock to Louisa, still holding on to the upper 70s in Richmond and Chesterfield. And as we look at our evening forecast, we are looking at a mainly clear sky. 9-10 o'clock temperatures fall back into the mid and upper 60s. I'll have a better look at our rain chance for Wednesday coming up. Riley?
All right, thank you, Megan. A 17-year-old faces a series of charges after an interstate shooting that turned into a police chase on I-295 over the weekend. Cherise Hoffman breaks down how authorities were able to catch him and what they're doing to stop the rise in highway shootings.
Highway shootings are starting to become something we're seeing more and more in our area, from ones that don't have serious injuries to some that are even deadly. And VSP hopes that making an arrest in this most recent one will bring ease to people and show them that they're doing whatever they can to solve and prevent them.
There's been an uptick of highway shootings in the Richmond area, and VSP is saying enough is enough.
People are traveling on the roadway with their families. School buses are out at that time of the day. It is not acceptable for anyone to be shooting on the roadway.
Sunday evening, VSP got word that someone was shooting from their car on 295 North near the Creighton Road exit. A deputy tried to pull them over, but instead they drove off, leading to a chase that ended in a crash in this Henrico neighborhood on Yeadon Road.
We were able to come out, conduct a solid investigation in cooperation with the Hanover Sheriff's Office and make an arrest.
The suspect, only 17 years old, is facing multiple charges, including reckless handling of a firearm. Thankfully, no one was injured. But some of the shootings we've seen recently have been deadly, and no arrests have been made. Like this one last month in Hanover. A 27-year-old man died after he was shot while in his truck, causing it to crash and catch on fire. VSP wants everyone to know that they're taking these seriously.
Virginia State Police does not tolerate shooting on the interstates at all, period. We're working diligently to make sure that we find the people who are doing this in each individual case.
They believe most of these shootings are road rage incidents and are encouraging folks to use caution. If you see something, say something.
Remember defensive driving. If somebody's getting angry, don't amp it up. Slow down, back off, don't engage.
So what's the next step? Well, VSP is in the process of putting together a PSA. The hope is that it'll promote safety and show folks that they are committed to solving highway shootings and preventing them the best way that they can. You can look out for that on Friday. In Chesterfield County, Cherise Hoffman, 12 on Your Side.
Right now, a town hall meeting is underway at Goochland High School, hosted by the supervisors and the school board. But judging by the turnout, the proposed tech overlay district will be the central topic. There is growing protest over plans to bring a nuclear reactor to the area. The Planning Commission has already given its approval, but supervisors get the final say. Chantel Davis is there, and we'll have a live report at 7 right here on our streaming channel. The minimum test scores for Virginia public school students to pass their end-of-year SOL tests may be going up. The Virginia Board of Education voted unanimously to raise the scores to pass both the math and reading tests. Right now, a score of 400 out of 600 qualifies as passing. The board says the current scores are reflective of outdated standards and do not meet higher expectations. A vote on implementing a final plan is expected later on this month. Taking a live look at the downtown expressway, the cash toll booths you see are going to stick around a bit longer. Today, the RMTA issued an update on the transition to all electronic tolling. The Powhite Parkway, Boulevard Bridge, and all ramps are still on track to be completely cashless this winter, but not yet for the downtown expressway. Cash will still be accepted between 6:30 a.m. and 9 p.m. All other times it will be pay by plate. The downtown expressway won't completely transition until 2027. Some good news also coming out of Richmond. I'm sure you've heard Francine the Lowe's cat is back home and will be back at the Broad Street store tomorrow. She was finally located about 85 miles away in a Lowe's distribution center near Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. It's believed she accidentally got on board a loading truck 3 weeks ago. Lowe's says workers and volunteers used video surveillance, professional trappers, and even thermal drones to find the kitty. One person behind the Where's Francine Instagram page says she was elated when she got the good news.
As soon as I left the work parking lot, those tears hit. I think the full weight of it hit me. It's just super exciting. It's something that we've been, working towards for a little over a week now. And it's obviously snowballed into this huge online following. So it was really exciting to get to share that with the community that's been waiting for that news.
Francine was checked out at the vet and received a clean bill of health. She'll make her grand homecoming at the Broad Street Lowe's on Tuesday. Meantime, today is National Coaches Day. It's a day to honor and recognize the impact of coaches and what the impact they have on our lives in sports and beyond. The lasting effects coaches can have on kids extends well beyond the field. Michael Yoshida is joining us live on the Plus from D.C. Michael.
Hey there, Riley. Many of us can probably point to a coach or a mentor that had a lasting impact, and that's what this day is all about. Established in the 1970s, National Coaches Day seeks to recognize and highlight that broader impact that coaches can have on a young person's life.
On and off the field, coaches can transform lives.
Teach life skills that are going to stay with kids long after their playing days are over.
Jason Sachs with Positive Coaching Alliance works to make sure young people have coaches who inspire them to become the best version of themselves in the game and in life.
Youth sports is possibly one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, platform that we have in our country for positive youth development. So we just need to make sure that it's being done right. And oftentimes the coach is at the center of that.
But with so many youth league and team options, potential pressures of costs, scholarships, or even NIL sponsorship money, Sachs offers this advice to parents. Do your homework. Make sure your expectations, your child's, and the organization's align. Is it a travel team where playing time isn't guaranteed? Or something more developmental and fun where everyone plays? How competitive is it? And what are the goals?
So we really want the parents to take a close look and make sure they're making the right decision for their child at that point in their child's life.
For players and coaches, Sachs says yes, feedback can be tough and failure can and will happen. But lessons of teamwork, adversity, and learning to work with others of different backgrounds and personalities can help you well beyond the game.
The most important thing that a coach can do with a player is to build trust, because once there's that connection and trust, then I think that's where a lot of the learning can happen.
And Sachs also talked about the importance of boundaries. Let the coach be the coach while you can be that supportive parent or guardian on the sidelines or in the stands. Live in Washington, Michael Yoshida, 12 on your side.
Thank you, Michael. Turning now to our first alert forecast. We are currently riding the roller coaster of Virginia weather. I mean, we've got summer-like temps, we're going back to fall, then we're creeping back up. Megan, What can people expect?
Something for everyone. If you like the warmth, you probably like today. You'll like tomorrow as well. We're back in the 80s. And then as we get into the middle part of the week and into the end of the week, that's when a front moves on through. We've got temperatures that'll fall into the 60s after that front passes on Wednesday. And then as we get into next week, we're back in the 70s. So feeling a lot more like fall. Once we get past Tuesday, average for this time of year is 74 degrees. And most of us now sitting in the 70s. Already seeing the upper 60s in Petersburg. We have 78 in Chesterfield, 76 in Hanover. New Kent is sitting at 74 degrees. Tappahannock, you're in the low 70s. Crew coming in at 70 degrees. And as we look at first alert Doppler radar, we are quiet tonight. And this is how it'll stay throughout the overnight and through the day tomorrow. As far as temperatures this evening, if you're maybe headed out to run some errands, the next 5 hours on our first alert weather app has temperatures at 9 o'clock in the upper 60s. And then as we go throughout the overnight, we will start tomorrow in the upper 50s. So a cool start to the day tomorrow. You might need a jacket early. Certainly don't need a jacket, though, as we get into the afternoon. More sunshine expected. We've got highs in the low 80s. And then all eyes on Wednesday. I would have the rain gear as soon as you walk out the door Wednesday morning. Plan for a wet morning commute. Could have some pockets of steady rain at times. This is a mid to late morning Wednesday, maybe even a couple of thunderstorms. And then during the afternoon, that rain tapers. Clouds begin to clear. Cooler air settles on in. So temperatures look to actually drop as we go throughout the afternoon on Wednesday. And then you'll really feel that difference by the end of the week. Thursday, only 64 degrees for the high temperature after starting in the upper 40s. So some cooler air in sight, and also watching the tropics here. A new area we're watching. This has a 10% chance of development. Bay of Campeche and near Mexico, but this particular area is still well out to sea. Highlighted in red here, an 80% chance of development within the next 7 days, likely to become Jerry later this week. And at this point, it does look like it'll do a recurve and stay out to sea, but it is something we'll watch closely. What we're also watching closely is our weekend forecast. This is all dependent on a coastal area of low pressure that will develop late week. Where this sets up and where this ends up going will ultimately give us a better idea of if we could see some rain and perhaps just how much. I'll show you in better detail that hour-by-hour forecast coming up here in less than 10 minutes. Riley?
All right, thank you, Megan. Time now to get you caught up on the latest headlines from across the country and around the world. Here's what's making news now. Illinois filing a lawsuit earlier today trying to block the White House from deploying National Guard troops to Chicago, but a federal judge says she won't take any action until at least Thursday. But why? She says she needs time to go through the government's response. It comes after a federal judge in Oregon limited the use of troops in the Beaver State. Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez is facing a felony charge after he was stabbed in a fight in Indianapolis. Prosecutors say this started over a parking space. The other man involved told detectives he pepper sprayed Sanchez, who appeared to be intoxicated and then stabbed him. Sanchez told detectives he could barely remember the incident. Hundreds of hikers are still trapped on Mount Everest's eastern slope after an unprecedented blizzard this week. October is peak season for tackling Everest. That's why there were so many people and so little preparation for this much snow. Yesterday, reports said as many as 1,000 people were trapped. A few hundred hikers have already been rescued. With Democrat Jay Jones facing mounting pressure to drop out of the race for Attorney General after old text messages surfaced, we sat down with political analyst Larry Sabato. You heard portions of the interview on the news at 5 and 6, but it was just a part of a larger conversation with Madison McNamee.
I know we've been seeing a lot of calls now for Jay Jones to step down from even the president at this point. Can that happen, or what would that look like if that were to happen right now?
It isn't easy to do it, and it's a messy process, but essentially Jones would have to be convinced to resign from the ticket. I don't think there is a clear, obvious way for the party to remove him. So if they can convince him to resign, and speaking only for myself and not for any group, I think that's the right thing to do. It's important that the party have a plan. Clearly, both parties faced with that situation would have to have a plan. And it's difficult to see how Jones does not become the number one issue for the remaining month of the campaign if he isn't gone. This is going to go on day after day after day. Already, the Republicans have millions of dollars of advertisements flooding into Virginia. And, you know, Democrats are going to have to bite the bullet here and make clear what the stakes are. Apparently, they rallied around Jones as a first reaction, comparing it to the fact that Republicans had to rally around John Reed after his scandal. Okay, they're about very different things, but it is true. Parties can do that, and they can manage to suppress some of the criticism. But in this case, I just don't think you do. And I think the incentive for Republicans, national Republicans, not just state, is to use this over and over and long after the campaign for governor of Virginia is over. So the stakes are now larger than Virginia. This is a national issue. It is a national problem for Democrats, and they don't need another problem. Look at what's going on. Look at how difficult this shutdown is for both parties. And Democrats don't control anything. So Democrats have more riding on this election in Virginia and the one in New Jersey than Republicans do. Because if they can't win something back controlling nothing, with a president in the low 40s of approval, which Trump is, then you have to wonder, when will they come back?
And if he were to step down, I mean, would that be today, tomorrow, or this week? Or do you think he's probably just trying to kind of lay low? I mean, he hasn't been responding to our texts. So do you think he's just kind of trying to wait for all of this to blow over?
He needs to understand something. It's not going to blow over. I can tell him that for sure. I can tell the Democrats and the Democratic ticket that for sure. There are millions and millions of dollars that have been committed in the last 72 hours to making sure this becomes the #1 issue in the remaining month of the campaign. So this is way beyond Jay Jones at this point. So you can go hide if you want to, but it's not going to help. You can issue press releases, but it's not going to help. Now, certainly there's a core of Democrats who will vote for him regardless, but not nearly enough to elect him. And maybe that election, even with a substitute, maybe that election has been decided by this scandal. But it can go further than that. And you can be sure the advertising is going to link this to the other two statewide Democrats, even though I'm sure they didn't know about it either. This was kept amazingly for years. It was kept quiet for years. Somebody was sitting on it. They already had it.
Now, Election Day is 4 weeks from tomorrow. As always, you can find our voters guide online or on our 12 News mobile app. While you're there, you can see our one-on-one interviews with each candidate running for statewide office. The CDC out with new guidance for COVID-19 vaccines. The agency now recommending the shots for those over 65, but only after they consult with a doctor or pharmacist. Now, this doesn't mean those under 65 can't get the vaccines, but guidance and availability will vary state to state. Walgreens says it will still offer the shots to those over 3, while CVS will offer them to those 5 and older. And a reminder for RPS families, you've got just about a week left to get vaccines for your child before school. The division is hosting a few more in-school vaccine clinics for middle and high schoolers. Students of all ages can get their required vaccines for free through October 14th, but appointments are required, so head to the RPS website to book yours right now. We appreciate you for streaming with us tonight at 6:30, but our news doesn't stop here. Here's a look at what's coming up when you join us at 7. Cases of whooping cough are on the rise across the U.S. as we inch closer to flu season. Coming up at 7, what changes you can make to your everyday life to help keep your family healthy. And the world can use more kindness. New at 7, how one Charlottesville teacher is teaching civics and helping students be good citizens all at once.
Always watching the weekend forecast, and what we're watching closely for our upcoming weekend is an area of low pressure that looks likely to develop along the coast of the Carolinas. Now, where this ultimately forms and where it ultimately tracks will give us a better idea of how much rain we could see and just when it could arrive. So at this point, we do have showers possible Saturday. That chance will also linger Sunday and could end up lingering into the start of the work week next week. So again, all dependent on that area of low pressure for this rain chance this weekend, but in the near term, we are anticipating rain to move in a Wednesday morning, and that'll taper during the afternoon. Can't even rule out a couple of storms as a front moves on through Wednesday. Riley?
All right, thank you, Megan. And finally, the harvest moon rises tonight, and this one could be extra special because this year it's the first of 3 back-to-back supermoons. A supermoon happens when the moon reaches its nearest point to Earth, making it look larger and fuller. Historically, its bright light helped farmers finish their harvests for the year. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you for joining us for our debut show on the Plus. I'll see you back for the news at 11 on air and wherever you stream us. Remember, you can always get the latest on our mobile news app. Have a great night.